Hi everyone. Have you been wondering, is now the right time for me to sell my home? Should I be buying my next home now? Have you been like, I need answers to all of these questions and more? How in the world is the Memphis housing market? Somebody tell me. Fret no longer. I'm Genique Glenn. I'm your nurse agent with eXp Realty, and today I have answers for you. You've been wanting to know how's the housing market? Is it the right time to sell? Is it the right time to buy? I got answers, and if you want to know how much homes are selling and at what price point, what's the average sales price of certain neighborhoods around town, stay tuned. I got the answers for you right now. All right, guys, let's jump right into this. I'm going to be going over the overall housing markets, and then I'm going to be zeroing in on the areas of Cordova, Bartlett, Lakeland, Arlington, Germantown, and Collierville, and seeing how the housing market was in 2020 in those specific areas. So you definitely want to stay tuned to when I talk about your specific area and how the housing market was in 2020 and all the data that is revealed. I'll also be talking about some of the average sale prices in 2020 in those specific areas. All right, guys, so first thing first, in 2020, how were the home prices? Well, home prices actually rose by 7.3% in 2020 in the midst of a pandemic when people were probably worrying, panicking. The housing market responded beautifully with home prices rising 7.3%. People were referring to things like the 2008 recession. They were worried, but in actuality, it responded quite well. In 2008, we saw home prices drop 19.7%, but in 2020, the response was increased by 7.3%. Okay, 2020, we also saw the appreciation of home equity, and this has helped people a lot in the growth of home equity. Actually, I follow also Keeping Current Matters, and they had a map where they showed that home equity values in Tennessee were up like $15,000. People have like $15,000 on average of equity in their homes right now. So that's a wonderful thing in the midst of the pandemic. Kind of helps give leverage or give them room to do some other things and help them get through different financial restraints and different things that may have come up in 2020. So home equity has really been a pillar of 2020 and has helped many individuals, and many people are sitting on equity in their homes right now. Okay, so now a little economics factor. Okay, in the housing market, 2020 showed us that there was definitely a low supply. So the thing of supply and demand, when there's a low supply and there's an increased demand, there's home prices tend to rise and increase because there's such a demand for that particular thing or product, which was for homes. So people are looking for homes. There's definitely buyers out there, but there's just not enough houses on the market, not enough inventory. So there has been a rise in those home prices because the demand is high. So how does that affect us? Well, we got overall, again, 2020 home prices, as we said, rose 7.3%, and this was according to CoreLogic. CoreLogic said that home prices in 2020 rose 7.3%. Now we look at builders and new construction. They are continuing to build, and with more inventory coming on the market, we were going to continue to see appreciation, just they're saying a smaller appreciation. And one of the graphs that I was able to pull from the Keeping Current Matters site, I don't know if you can see this, but these are the home price appreciation that they had estimated. I had a different one, but it's basically showing this one, it kind of went down by a percent of 6% with estimated from Zillow. This one is showing 7% from Zillow. And you can see that the appreciation, it didn't go below zero. It didn't drop, but it's still an appreciation, but a smaller appreciation. So on average, they're saying that home prices will continue to rise and home appreciation continues to rise on average right around 2 to 4%, with some extreme outliers of being 6% down to 2 point something percent. So they're saying that there's still going to be an appreciation, but a decreased appreciation. Well, a lot of people have been wondering, is it a good time to sell my home? And with the data, it's saying that the first 6 months is a very good time for sellers to sell their home, while the last 6 months of the year, will be a better time for buyers. And why is that? In the first beginning of the year, we're still seeing that rise of home prices and home appreciation. But as the year goes on, it goes down a little bit too. So in the beginning, and also because in the springtime, that's when we usually see more people putting their home on the market. And for a buyer, it's good, right? For the last 6 months when there's more homes on the market, because they're going to have more to choose from. They're going to have more options. They're going to have more time to think about what they want. And as a seller, it's shifting, you're not in as much control as before when there wasn't as many homes on the market. So now the buyer has more options, more time to decide not to purchase your home in those latter 6 months and go with a different option. Now, if you're a seller, the first 6 months is golden for you because there are not as many homes on the market. And if you wait, you're going to run into that situation where they're going to have more choices. And not only is there more houses on the market, but remember that equity, you still have that equity in your home, which is allowing you to maybe put down payment or to do more things and have more choices and options along with those low interest rates for when you go buy a home. But as waiting, you're going to put yourself in a position, if you're a seller, where the buyer is going to have more options. So right now they're saying the first 6 months is best if you want to sell your home. And the last 6 months of 2021 may be better for buyers in terms of they will have more options to choose from, more homes on the market. So it's something to think about, and depending on what your plans are more specifically. So let's get into some Memphis and town-specific housing market details. All right, for December in Memphis, total sales, we had, 2020, let's do December. December, we had 1,796 homes for total sales in December versus 1,622 homes total sales in November. So that was an increase of 10.7%. Okay, and the average sales price in December was $223,843, which is an increase of 17.8%. All right, year to date, you guys, year to date in Memphis, how was it? In 2020, there were 19,660 homes on the market. Okay, total sales. This is year-to-date total sales. 19,660 total sales of homes from 2020. There was an increase of 0.4% from 2019, which in 2019 there was 19,589. So 0.4% increase. I mean, and when you consider the pandemic, that's pretty remarkable that there's still even an increase, and you're on the plus side of homes still selling. So that's pretty good for our Memphis market. Okay, also, what was the average sales price for us last year? Last year, the average sales price for Memphis year-to-date total sales was $214,516, which was an increase of 12.3% from 2019 when it was $190,971. So that was an increase of 12.3% in 2020 over 2019 in the total home sales in Memphis. So pretty good for us. All right. And as of December 18th, the data shows that there was 2,403 active listings with the average list price of $301,453 in Memphis. And we also had 1,315 pending sales. Okay, pretty good. All right, Cordova. How did Cordova fare in 2020? Our yearly sales in Cordova 2020, we had 2,315 homes that sold in 2020. That was down 2.4% from 2019. And our average sales price was $218,505 in Cordova. And that was an increase in the sales price of 10.3%. So not bad. Not bad. Okay, guys, for Cordova in 2020, there was 2,315 yearly sales. And in 2019, there was 2,373 yearly sales. So we saw a little bit of a decrease in Cordova sales, but there was so many sales. There was only a decrease of 2.4% in Cordova. And the average sales price was right around $218,000, and that was an increase of 10.3% from 2019. So sale price is still pretty good, $218,000 on average in Cordova in 2020. And Bartlett, Bartlett saw 1,153 yearly sales in 2020 compared to 2019 total sales of 1,175. This was a slight decrease as well of 1.9%, but considering the pandemic, that really wasn't bad. A decrease of 1.9%. Still really, really good. Okay, and the average sales price in Bartlett is was in 2020, 2,000. We wish it was 2,000. The average sale price in Bartlett in 2020 was $241,250. Okay, Germantown. Germantown in 2020 had 976 total sales compared to 2019, 860 sales. And that average selling price in Germantown was $435,875 in 2020. $435,875 in 2020. And that was an increase of 10.3% in Germantown for 2020 total home sales. All right, Collierville, you had 1,285 total yearly sales for 2020 compared to 1,195 yearly sales. That was an increase of 7.5%, which is really good. Okay, very good. And the average sales price in Collierville in 2020 was $433,557. And that was an increase of 9.4% for the average sales price. And in Lakeland, 335 total yearly sales with 317 in 2019. So in 2020, you saw 5.7% increase in your total yearly sales in Lakeland. And the average sale price in Lakeland for 2020 was $365,704. And that was an increase of 10.9% from 2019. Arlington had 417 total yearly sales versus 421 yearly sales in 2019. So not that much difference there considering the pandemic and everything that was going on in 2020. With the average sale price in Arlington being $322,174, which was an increase of 7.0% in Arlington for that average sale price. It was an increase of 7.0% from 2019 to 2020. Okay, so those were for the total yearly sales. And now I wanted to go into about the new home sales, new construction home sales. How was that in 2020? So 2020 in Cordova, year to date, new home sales. In 2020, there were 66 new home sales in Cordova versus 128 new home sales in 2019. And the average sales price in Cordova for new construction homes, new home sales, was $282,018. And there was 11.8% sales price increase, okay? There was an 11.8% price increase in 2020. In Bartlett, we saw 16 total new home sales in 2020. 16 total new home sales in 2020 in Bartlett versus 45 new home sales in Bartlett in 2019. And that was a decrease of 64.4%. I'm not sure I said that for Cordova, but for Cordova, we saw the 66 new homes sales, and we saw 128 new home sales in 2019. So in 2020, Cordova showed a decrease of 48.4% in the number of new construction homes and the sale of new construction homes. And that average sales price increased in Cordova by 11.8%, while the production of the new home sales production was decreased 48.4%, but the price increased. Okay, Bartlett, you had 16 total new home sales in 2020 versus 45 in 2019, which was a decrease of 64.4%. The average sale price in 2020 was $322,668 versus $306,666 in 2019. So we saw a 5.2% increase in Bartlett and a decrease of the total year-to-date sales in Bartlett of 64.4%. In Germantown, we saw 14 year-to-date new home sales versus 26 new home sales in 2019. And this is kind of like amazing to me, but I was looking at the average sales price in Germantown in 2020 was $1,003,741 in 2020. And the average sale price for new home sales in 2019 in Germantown was $903,949. So there was an increase of 11% in the average sale price of new homes in Germantown. And they also saw like a decrease in production from 2019 to 2020 in the sale of new home sales from 2019 to 2020. It did increase their price for their new home sales. And we'll get to talking about why that is in just a moment. I want to go through Collierville and the other areas, Arlington and Lakeland also. So Collierville new home sales was 154 in 2020 versus 164 in 2019, with the average sale price of new homes in 2020 being $595,566. They saw an increase of 6.7% in their average sales price of new homes. Lakeland, there was 60 total year-to-date new home sales versus 37 in 2019. And the average sales price in Lakeland for 2020 was $476,380 for new home sales. And that was an increase of 4.7%. And Arlington in 2020 saw a total year-to-date new home sales of 117 versus 105 in 2019. And the average sale price for new homes in Arlington in 2020 was $399,710, and there was an increase of 5.8% from 2019 to 2020. So with the new home sales, like I'm just reviewing the data, I noticed that there were a decrease in every area for new home sales. There was a decrease, except for it was in Lakeland. Lakeland had actually an increase in their new home sales for 2020 versus 2019. The other areas, and what's also interesting about Lakeland, their average price only increased by 4.7% for their new construction homes. When you look at the other areas in Cordova, Bartlett, Germantown, Collierville, and Arlington, you notice that the new home sales for 2020 decreased, but the price, the average sale price for those homes increased. And they increased by more than 4.7%. That was in Lakeland. And so with research, the lumber industry is affecting new home sales. Back toward around April, beginning middle of last year in 2020, there was some lumber companies that shut down. And also you have wildfires out in California, so that affected lumber. And with that, how do the builders compensate for, hey, we don't have enough and that price of lumber is increased? Well, you see it in your price point when you go out to buy a home, because the prices have increased. I believe it's like to compensate for that, and there's not enough of it and they have to pay more, so you kind of end up paying for that. If that demand is high, you see it in the price point. So that's why for these average sale prices, although there was less new home sales, the sale price really increased by some large percentages. But I had to note that Lakeland, their new construction homes, their sales, they actually increased their new home sales, and they kept prices pretty steady with an increase, but not too large of an increase, staying at 4.7% increase in their price. So that was interesting to note. Okay, so to wrap everything up, let's see here. So what factors influence the housing market? Of course, you guys all know the pandemic with the coronavirus and everything. People were affected. Still, some are affected by this pandemic, and affecting through jobs and health, and having to make decisions that people just really didn't think that they would even have to make at this time. And sometimes that affects the ability to buy houses. It affects the ability to do certain things. It affected our ability to be able to go out to work. So a lot of people are working from home. They started working from home, and even that affects the housing market, because now you have individuals with different needs and working at home, needing a home office, or wanting a home gym, or wanting to put that addition onto their home. And even in that, and needing lumber, needing building supplies, and the prices being up, and so everything kind of connects in some way, and that whole thing is affecting the housing market. So now with the vaccines coming out and people becoming vaccinated, with more control over, with social distancing, with everything, different things in place, and maybe we can, lower this risk and get this better under control, then we may see a change with that. But the pandemic is definitely a factor in affecting things and how everything will go. Like I said, with people working more from home, more freedom, and also deciding where to work, because you can work remotely. You have more options. And as we progress, different companies may restructure how they actually do their business, and there may be more opportunities as well. More new construction. So I do think that construction will continue. Of course, it's going to continue because there's more demand. And with the lumber, I think that, everything in time kind of corrects itself. So hopefully that those prices will not stay as high for long. But that hopefully everything will rebound and we won't see it quite as high. More people putting their home on the market in the springtime. Usually you see more homes on the market around that time anyway. So there'll be more inventory. And as we talked about before, more inventory It's better for the buyers, maybe not so much for our sellers because they have more options. And then, of course, employment opportunities, the economy, everything is going to affect. Those are factors that are going to affect, of course, the housing market and things that we'll keep looking at in 2021. So we just want to consider those factors moving forward. But overall, the market has done well in 2020. But that is your housing market update. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. And I look forward to more videos for you guys. You guys take care. Be well, be safe, be check on each other. And that's it for this one. So long.